So I'm going to be taking you guys on a journey with my ultimate Viessa and the clairvoyance I'll be building with her. I wanted to do this because I noticed a lot of you guys are still on the fence as to what exactly you might want to build, how you want to build it. I know some of you guys are still on your first character and I'm moving on to my second. And I know there's other people already like super ascendant on their third and fourth and fifth, but I wanted to just slow it down so that you guys are able to see the work up and not just the final result. We're still going to have the final result video, which is going to be more of the overall showcase, but I wanted to kind of get into the nitty gritty of the middle so that you guys can actually figure out what it is that you might want to take off or on or alternate in, because say you might want more expansion so you have more radius, or you want more skill cooldown, or why, right? So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. But one thing I do want to say, all right, I want you guys to understand that my videos and the type of content that I put out is because I want you guys as viewers to actually learn, right? To take something away from this video so that you can apply it to your account with no error, right? So I noticed that there's a lot of people that feel like the videos, like, and not even a lot. It's the very, very, very few that feel like these videos are drawn out. But I'm going to just say this first and foremost. Hey, my content might not be for you, and that's perfectly okay. But I like actually explaining and taking my time so that I can give you guys information that is going to actually teach you how to play this game. It's a lot of new players that are coming into this game that honestly, truly don't have any idea of how this type of game works. And I want those players to be able to stick around long term, because one of the most important things for a lot of these games is community. And anytime the community is just being super elitist, it makes it really hard for those players to get into the game to be able to enjoy with everybody else. And so as a content creator and as a person that actually understands the game and has beaten everything in the game, and I'm hitting millions of damage and doing all that, I want to take the time to bring up those players so that they can be a part of the conversation and be a part of the community as well. So with that being said, God bless you guys. I appreciate you guys for watching my videos. Now, getting into Ultimate Viessa, I want to try to simplify this, but still explaining it at the same time. We're essentially trying to keep our characters open. And what I mean by that is we're trying to build them for not only bossing, but also farming. The reason why we're doing this is because I know that a lot of you guys might not be on your second or third or even fourth character in investment. And your time allotted per day might be like a couple of hours. Maybe it might be a couple hours a couple times a week, who knows, right? But I will say that from what I'm gathering, there is a lot more people that are trying to get into this game that are still somewhat casual due to the limitations of time that they have. So I wanted to keep the character open so that if you know you're investing in a character, you can get more value out of them, right? So we're building the cold-bloodedness, and we're also building hypothermia. Now, the thing is that we're going to go through the ringer as to what's changing, the builds, and of course, some alternate suggestions that you can use, right? But ultimately it's up to you as far as what you might want to do. Now, cold-bloodedness, what essentially is changing here is the skill 2. Skill 2 normally gives you range increase, it gives you a movement speed increase, and then you also get ice shackle from this as well. Or sorry, ice, yeah, is it ice shackle? Is ice shackle or ice crystal? It's one of the two, I'm pretty sure. I think it might be ice needle. That's what it is. Yeah, it's ice needle, right? So with that, what you get instead is actually a skill power increase, MP cost decrease, and cooldown reduction rate in replacement. So you lose the speed, you lose the range, and you lose the ice needle, okay? But what this does in return is it allows you to be able to spam your abilities. It allows you to get more damage out of your abilities, and the cooldown or the cost of them is just way cheaper, right? Now, with that, you're going to already see that on Viessa, she naturally, even between hypothermia and cold-bloodedness, naturally has high modifiers, right? So 803, 1.1K, we got a 1.4K with a 1.8K on the burst, right? Like, she has insane modifiers. But the main thing is that when you're looking at the ice sphere, the ice sphere is dealing with duration and effect. When you're looking at, say, for example, hypothermia, hypothermia is changing the passive, and this is actually focused on duration / damage. Remember, the modifiers are directly affecting damage. So like when you're looking at, like, again, this is going to be like a singular skill power modifier. this is what would be applicable or what you would want with what is currently being shown for the continuous damage to tick higher, right? So that's essentially that. And that also kind of shifts us into hypothermia. Hypothermia is a little bit more focused on continuous damage. It is directly changing the passive, which directly will affect everything else in the kit, right? So with that, you are now having the Ice Needle be more focused on duration damage versus if we look at cold-bloodedness, where it is duration effect. Okay, so that's that. Now, the thing is that when we're looking at what we want for cold-bloodedness, right? What we have here is we are going for trying to slot the character to increase or scale the skill power, versus on this one, we want a little bit more modifier so we can get that tick or the continuous damage to do a little bit more. You still want that skill power, yes, but you also want to consider modifier a little bit more, right? So the main things that I will say are going to be some of your first target. And this is like, okay, let's wipe the slate clean. And let's say this is your first character. Ultimate Viessa is the first character you decided you want to invest in. What would be some of your go-to choices as far as mods, right? So obviously you would have the, more than likely, the Transcendent mod, maybe not leveled yet, maybe leveled to 4, 3, who knows, right? Because it does get expensive to level these, especially starting out. But I would definitely say focus on chill is one of the ones that I would say, like, I would just go for right away because I have it built. But if I didn't have it built, I would do actually the chill specialist. So chill specialist is going to give you more raw skill power for chill, but you don't get that cooldown, right? Which again, it doesn't really matter that much, especially when you're first starting out. The focus on chill and shifting up into this and really figuring out what the build is that you want to do is kind of like it's a ladder, right? Like, so you got to step up the ladder eventually to get to that point. But ultimately, you can just start out with that. Same thing with increased HP. Depending on the build that I'm doing, I would say increase HP. Same thing with increased defense. It's going to vary on what you might want to slot in either one of these respectively, right? Because for the cold-bloodedness, I want spear and shield so that I can get that skill power increase. But on the hypothermia, I actually want battle of stamina for HP because this is a duration increase, right? So again, remember that you have Ice Needle, which is duration and damage, right? So duration actually isn't a bad thing to have with that HP. And again, you can also still factor that into whatever it is else that you want, right? So that's kind of the idea, right? And this is just singularly looking at cold-bloodedness. The other thing is, too, one of the first mods you'll probably socket first, outside of just putting mods on, is probably going to be your sub module, because your sub module is going to give you extra cost. So let's actually go ahead and let's put that on. And let's do this. Let's actually not do this by new. Let's just do it by tier. So let's do long distance. That takes me all the way up now to 83. Now, keep in mind, like, yours might not be maxed out if you're just getting into it. But this should be one of the, like, first mods that you just max out, period, just because it gives you more module cost capacity, right? So that's super essential. Don't touch the Transcendents if you're not trying to lock down your character. There's, like, zero need to do that. So that's that. Now, the other thing I do want to mention, too, is that Viessa does come with some pre-sockets that are actually pretty solid. So we're only 3 sockets into building her, so this is pretty early, right? And the main ones I did, I think it was the Aldemine was one of them, or sorry, Almindine was one of them. Then I think I did a Cerulean. I did a Cerulean for sure. So that was one, and I think I did 2 of the Almindine, right? So yeah, that's basically what I currently have, like, as far as the sockets, just for those that were wondering. Now, with that, okay, we obviously have that kind of all figured out. We got the spear and shield. The other thing is, too, let's say I want to make this quicker, right? So if you notice here, we still are at 18.8 seconds with what we currently have. And that's coming from the skill cooldown of the 6.1%. Now, what I might want to add here, and what you'll probably see, for example, Nimble Fingers is one, right? This would be like one of the starting ones that you can use, right? And that would heavily decrease your cooldown. Again, we probably have to lock it in. So actually, hold on. Let's save. I always forget that there's a button that can just save it and it'll just stay on the screen. But now we go from 18 seconds to 13 seconds, right? So this affects every single skill. Now from 60 to 41, we have 20 to 13, right? Let's say you want this to be even like faster. You want it to cool down even more. You do have another mod, and there's some mods that you can use depending on what you care for or don't care for. There's one in particular that will give you more cooldown, but comes with a negative, and there's one that has a little bit less cooldown, but will give you a positive. So if I'm not mistaken, I think time distribution is one of those. That one is going to be giving you a cooldown with a increase or a positive, but it doesn't scale as high on the cooldown. So you can go for that. The one that I use, just because I'm a glutton for pain, and I usually just like will counteract it with like, say my external component or something, like I have to roll like, or make sure there's a gold MP, just to make sure that 15% isn't killing me. I usually go with MP conversion, right? So that's a minus 36.5%, which is super, super beneficial to the build, right? So let's go ahead and save that. And then what we have here now is we went from 12 to 6.4 seconds. So now we're starting to actually develop the build, and we understand that, like, again, there's a lot of different things that you can do as well. Reactor is also going to be another important thing. You want to figure out what's going to be on your reactor, because if you also understand, like, say, for example, you want skill cooldown on your reactor, you actually can possibly take one of these off, right? So it just all kind of depends on what it is between the mods that you're equipping, the reactors that you have on, and then some of those more base values, MP, shield, HP, defense, what's going to be on your external components. So all in all, just starting out, this is where I'm currently at, right? So we shift into giving her some more of that raw skill power with that critical resistance. That's what I wanted for the cold-bloodedness. We got emergency measures. And then we, of course, have skill insight to lock in crit. And what we're going to be going for next, we might try to go for some more crit damage. You have another mod that can help out with that, which is going to be, oh, I got that typed in, which is going to actually be, let me see if my brain will find it. There it is, Frontlines. So Frontlines gives skill critical hit damage, skill critical hit rate. You also do have another blue mod as well, and I've mentioned this in other videos, where skill concentration, where that's more focused on the crit damage. I personally always like to lock in crit rate before I lock in crit damage, and that's simply because I want the character to be critting consistently first before trying to get them to do more damage on the crit. Like, it makes no sense if you're not critting to have crit damage and you're not critting like that, right? So that's kind of the entire scope there. So all in all, this is what we have currently going. Now, if we go back, we just go to info. This is to kind of give you guys an idea as to where we're at. We're currently at skill critical rate of 42%. Skill critical damage is at 1.5, right? And then our cooldowns and duration is where they're currently at right now. But we're at 1.0 on the chill skill power boost ratio, because that's what we focused on. But the next thing is obviously we have the clairvoyance, which I'm also factoring into the build that I wanted to build with her. I'm actually building my clairvoyance as a a weak point damage gun. And the reason that is because I was like kind of looking at like how I can use this gun against bosses, and everyone is just simply going for just crit rate, crit damage builds on like almost everything. And I'm just like, well, let me try something else. So again, this isn't necessarily saying this is the only way or the way you have to build it, but it's how I wanted to essentially build the gun. And so what we got going so far, now mind you, guns are very, very straightforward. They're not exactly like, for example, this would be kind of like equivalent value to me starting my first gun, because I haven't built a special round gun yet. So very first thing that I already have leveled here, rifling reinforcement, because that's giving us the firearm attack increase. Now, some of the things that I like already started kind of slapping on here, I already socketed this, I think once, I think this has been socketed once. We can look at the, yeah, it's once, right? So we've only done one, so this is pretty early, right? So we got weak point sight, because I want that weak point damage. That's something that I'm actually aiming for. I'll be alternating that out probably, depending on if I want to use frigid burn or not. Then I'll go like weak point expansion, because weak point expansion is nuts. But we have weak point aiming, so we're getting some more accuracy with weak point damage. We have stance stabilizers, so recoil minus 8% with some firearm attack in that. We have marksman, which is giving us the crit rate, and we're going to probably swap this out because we're not going for a crit build. But all in all, the and actually that's probably why that's there, because I was going for a crit build initially. But what we have here is weak point detection, which is weak point damage plus 5% with firearm attack. So we'll probably go for something else that's going to give us, like, say, some more accuracy or some more elemental damage. It just all kind of depends on what we want here. I would even say like Deadeye could possibly go in that slot, because I think, do we already have an accuracy? Yeah, we already have an accuracy. So we need to find something that's under firearm. And let's see, crit. All right. All right, so let's see. So we got firearms. So we got a couple of ones that we might want to use. So these are all, let's see, is there anything that I want? Maybe the rounds per magazine might be something that we go for, because we already have weak point. We do have antimatter. Sharpshooter might be a thing because of the firearm attack. And there's reload time modifier. So I think what we might do, we might still go for some crit here. So I might not go for the firearm critical rate with firearm like lower percentile. I think what we'll do, we'll just do better insight. I think we'll do better insight for right now, because critting isn't a bad thing. It's just that we're not going for that to be the focal point. You still kind of want to crit, because you can still do that. So yeah, that's what we'll actually do instead. And so all in all, this is like kind of the start, right? So we have a lot more development that we need to do. The frigid burn, basically when hitting an enemy 3 times in a row with a firearm attack from a distance of 25 meters or more, deals 24% of chill attack as an additional damage. So that's something I want to kind of play around with. And then the other thing that's like really important to understand too is when you actually look at the gun, you want to look at your gun's like max range, for example. So this is a 25 meter requirement. This has a max range of 35 meters, right? So just kind of keeping that, you know, awareness there. The gun itself will tell you what you can and can't do on it. As far as like the substat values that we got, we rolled weak point gold, chill gold, firearm attack gold, and then there was nothing I could really do about the crit rate because it just rolled. So that's why I'm like, you know what? Hey, listen, we'll just get a little bit of crit rate, see what we can do, because I still think that would still be okay, and we'll see what that value ends up getting. So all in all, guys, this is basically just like the start, right, to my Viessa. I know that this is a lot of information, a lot of thought process that's within it, but that's what this game actually requires. So I wanted to, like I said, just kind of take you guys through that process so that you actually understand what it is that, you know, is kind of tinkering on, you know, maybe some CC's brains, why they're building certain things. Like I said, I'm considering bosses, but keeping the openness to be able to also utilize her as a farmer. We do need to farm, and that's something we'll talk about next video. I need to get another reactor because this one isn't focused on the right ability that I need. This was actually when I was on, I think I was on something else. So yeah, I was using like an entirely different Transcendent. So we got to go get a new reactor. We need new external components. So we'll cover that in the next video once we get that farmed up. But yeah, guys, that's going to be that. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask in the comment section down below. Everyone, have a blessed day, and I'll catch you guys later.